Okay, as per the Dark Retribution rules and guidelines in terms of the terrain and what it counts for, we are going to follow what they recommend. So the crates here and here count as cover. The fences here and walls and here, and also the walls as part of the tabletop, the table mat, also count as cover. The forests or small patches of trees count as cover. The ruins that come with the set, so these additional ruin pieces here and here, count as cover and dangerous terrain. And then physically going inside these buildings on the game mat, so here and up here in these areas here and at the top here, that would count as cover and difficult terrain. So these extra pieces are cover and dangerous. These pieces on the game mat are cover and difficult. The vegetation just counts as cover, the same as these forests. Yeah, so these patches of vegetation that you can see on the game board here, here, and over in this direction, this counts as cover as well, but it can be moved through, yeah, with no penalty. Deployment is done. I've marked the deployment area with these white dice. So we are now ready to begin. 4 objectives, I rolled 4. It's D3 plus 2, so I rolled a 2 plus 2. So we got an objective 1 here inside the ruins. So this is going to be dangerous terrain. You got objective 2 over here inside this ruin. Objective 3 down here, just at the corner of the ruin, and objective 4 inside here by the pillar. Now, they do give rules in terms of location, especially when you're playing AI. But what I did for the first game is I just put these in the center of the quadrant. So this is basically the deployment zone for in terms of the objectives here, this area here. So these are basically in the center of the 4 quadrants within this central area where you're supposed to deploy the objectives. Okay, for deployment, we are supposed to deploy the player miniatures first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play, as a player, I'll be playing the Kingdom of Angels. Okay, on this side here. So we have our Angel Tyrant on the far side. Next to him is a unit of crossbowmen. Then we have a unit of swordsmen. So 3 crossbowmen, 3 swordsmen, and then we have the Panther Rider. Now for the Mummified Undead, I'm doing these as AI, as the AI controlled troops. And they were deployed as per the AI rules. So I rolled randomly to determine which unit was deployed on which side. I split it basically in half, roughly in half, and I deployed it according to that. So at the top here, we have a unit of 3 skeleton swordsmen. Then we have the 5 mummies. We have 3 skeleton archers. Behind them, we have the guardian statues. And then here we have the skeletons, another unit of 3 skeleton swordsmen, and behind them we have the priestess. Okay. Now in the rules, it actually says, let's see if we can see that here, it actually says that we're supposed to have 2 guardian statues, but there's 3 miniatures, so I'm using all 3. See if it actually makes a difference. See if it's too much, then I'll know that's the way I've made the mistake. It's not my fault, being a bad general. Okay, so The basic rules are you have to be within 3 inches of an objective at the end of turn to control it. If you and the enemy are both within 3 inches, it is neutral. It's not controlled by anybody. If you move out of 3 inches, it still counts as being your control. The objective is to be in control of the most objectives by the end of the 4th turn. I think that's how it works. I need to reread the rules, I think, but I don't think you count every turn and then you add up the grand total at the end. I think it's literally the case of who controls the most objectives at the end of turn 4. I think that's how it works. Correct me if I'm wrong. Because I could also see a way of this working where at the end of each turn, you add up the number of objectives that are controlled, and you have that many points, and then turn 2, you add up, and then you add up, and then you add up, and then you find the grand total of points. I don't know whether that's the way it works. I think it's whoever controls the most objectives at the end of turn 4. Now, because there are 4 objectives, we could end up with a draw, where each army is in control of 1 each or 2 each. So it could be a draw depending on the objectives themselves. The white dice that I've put here are just to show the deployment zones for the armies. So yeah. Again, I think according to the rules, the army that deployed first also has the first turn. So I think when you're playing against AI, I think that's always going to be the player's army. But again, we'll have to see how it works. In terms of the AI, I need to... Again, this is going to be my first game, so apologies for any mistakes. But you have to nominate what type of units, whether they're melee, shooting, or a hybrid of both. So looking at the Mummified Undead, the swordsman would be melee, the mummies would be melee, the archers would be shooting, the guardian statues would be melee, the swordsman again melee, and the priestess, I'm going to say melee. I know that she has spells that are ranged attacks, but she only has a melee weapon, so I'm just going to take her as being melee. Another reason for this is that when you're using the AI to activate the units, you have to follow a decision tree. Now, on the little guide sheet, the AI rules guide sheet, you're actually given the decision trees here as to whether they are a hybrid unit. You then follow this decision tree. So number 1, are there any objectives not under the AI's control? Yes, go to step 2. No, go to step 5. And then you follow these. And then you got 1 here for shooting, and you got 1 here for melee. To make it a little bit simpler, again, I'm hoping this is going to make it simpler. I've just quickly done a chart which basically just transfers that information but into a more visual format. So shooting, melee, and hybrid. It's the same information. I've just tried to make it a little bit easier to read and easier to follow, a little bit more obvious in terms of being able to read it while I'm playing. So the units are deployed, the objectives are set, the terrain is ready. I have also put the cards into sleeves, as you can see here. So each unit has its own, well, not each unit, but every unit type has its card. I should really have another swordsman card, because one way of showing whether they're activated or not would be simply to tap or turn the card, which would show that they've been activated. But we're going to try and use the tokens that were provided with the game. I did print out and mount some of the tokens. They weren't easy to cut out being circular, especially when you attach them to mounting card. But I'm still confused as to what the tokens actually stand for, because there's nothing There's no reference that basically tells me that this token means this token means that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the green arrow tokens as activated to show that a unit's been activated. These ones, I'm pretty sure are wounds. So single wound, triple wounds. This one here, again, this is the same symbol that's on the spell card. So that obviously denotes magic. So I'm thinking that this token is to show units that are under the effect of a spell. So that's what I'm going to use these for. There are these skull tokens that I've used for the objectives. As you can see, I've got numbers 5 and 6 still here because I've only got 4 objectives. Now these two, I think there's still another 1 or 2 of the tokens that I haven't mounted yet, but I don't know what these two are supposed to be. So I just printed them out and mounted them, but I'm not actually going to use them in this game, I don't think. So I'm going to be using this one for activated to denote activated units. These are for wounds. Don't know whether I'll actually ever get to use this one. And this is to indicate units that are currently under the effect of spells. In this battle, only the Mummified Undead have spells. And they do have a couple of extra rules in terms of being undead, and also the archers with their cursed arrows. Now we're not using the full map, as you can see. There's the tomb entrance, which I'm saying the Kingdom of Angels has had a warning from their priestess, their angel priestess, that a great evil is about to emerge. So they've come to take some action. This is the vanguard. This is the guys, the scouting party at the front, to basically see whether there is truth to the priestess's vision. And here we have the first evil troops emerging from the tomb to defend. Yeah, but I'm not using the full battle mat for this game. It's a bit big. The battle mat is 44 inch by 32 inch. So what I've done for this battle is I've taken this area here, which is separated, or the boundaries are shown with these towers, these sort of crystal towers here. These are just showing the boundaries of the battle area. So it's actually a 32 by 32 area that I'm going to be using for the game. All right, let's get started. The unit of crossbowmen are going to take a shot at these skeleton archers, which are in cover. So I'm using the basic rule where if they're in the cover, they can be seen and shot at. But if, for example, like you see here, the Angel Tyrant is completely the other side of the cover, I'm saying that they can't shoot him, they can't see him. But if you're in the cover, then I think you can be shot. So this is going to bring a -1 modifier to the shot. Okay, so the crossbowman can actually only see 2 of the archers, because of the gap here between the ruins. They can only actually see these 2. Sorry, big hand. They can only actually see these 2 archers. They can't see this guy, so they'll only be shooting at these 2. Okay, the crossbowmen have a quality of 5+. The crossbow has 1 attack and it has rending. Okay, so rending, unmodified rolls of 6 to hit count as having AP 4. And ignore regeneration rule. Okay, well the undead don't have regeneration. AP is like armor piercing. The targets get -X to defense roll, so we'll be getting a -4 to its defense roll when blocking hits. Okay, but they're getting a -1 because of the cover, so they're going to have to roll 6s anyway. If they do hit, they're going to be doing rending. Okay, 2 dice, need 6 to hit. We get one hit, and because it's a 6, it counts as rending. Okay, so the skeleton archers take 1 hit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's the first guy. So this is the guy that takes the hit. Now the archers have a defense of 6+. So rending is a minus 4. So he has to defend on a natural 6. No, doesn't defend, takes a wound. Okay, now the rules state that whenever a model takes 1 or more wounds, you're going to place a wound marker next to it. So this guy, gets a wound marker. Then roll 1 die and add the number of markers to the result to see what happens. On a 2 to 5 is stunned, on a 6+ is knocked out. However, it says for groups and wounds, whenever a unit with multiple models takes wounds, each wound kills 1 model until only the last model remains. Only the last model accumulates wounds and rolls to see if it's stunned or knocked out. So reading that, I'm assuming that we don't roll for this guy, he's just taken out straight away. It's only the last surviving member of the unit that gets to actually roll to see whether he's wounded or stunned, or knocked out and stunned. So again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that this guy, he's dead. The Panther Rider will charge this unit of skeleton swordsmen. So the Panther Rider has the fast ability, so she can charge up to 18 inches. So it's within range, so she will charge the one on the end. Defenders can then move up to 3 inches to get into combat. So these guys. So they move in to sort of counterattack once the Panther Rider is done. Okay, the Panther Rider has a lance with 1 attack and also claws at 2 attacks, so she'll be rolling 3 dice. She also has this impact 1, which means she does 1, I think it's 1 automatic hit on a charge. She also has Furious, which gives a +1 attack with 1 weapon when she's charging and attacking. So she's actually rolling a total of 4 dice, and she has a quality of 4+. So she's done 1 hit already, and now she's rolling 4 dice at 4+. She gets 2 hits. So she hit twice, and then she has the 1 automatic hit from the impact skill. So 3 hits, 1 on each. Again, I think reading the rules, the first 2 get taken away automatically. It's just the last guy in the unit that has to roll. So these guys get killed. For the last skeleton swordsman, we're going to roll to see whether he is stunned or knocked out. So we're rolling a dice. He has 1 wound marker, so we add a +1. Natural 6 +1 is knocked out. Well, that was pretty effective. She wiped out the entire unit of swordsmen. Bye-bye. Okay, we are activating the archers. What I've done is I've moved them forward in cover because I just had a quick reread of the rules regarding objectives, and you only mark the objectives as being controlled at the end of the turn. So none of these objectives are currently seized or under control. I did put the markers on them just now, but that was wrong. So technically none of these are controlled yet. So the archers do have the option of moving towards another marker. So I'm using this marker as their reference. And I think the rules also said for AI that they would stay in cover and shoot if they could. So that's what I'm going to do. So the archers are going to shoot at the crossbowmen. Now, because of the intervening terrain, you've got the crates there. You've also got the edge of this this ruin here. Now, the ruins actually block the line of sight to the end guys. So only these two guys are able to be seen. Also, the crates are blocking partially. I think it's this guy's view, but they have cursed arrows. So cursed arrows ignore cover. So basically, these guys are affected by this in terms of line of sight, but this, which would normally provide cover, I think, although maybe not because they're using bows. It's not like guns. So I don't think this would count as cover anyway because bows will just go over it. So even if these guys are in cover, it's not affected. So I can only see the last two guys on the end here. So we have two skeleton archers. They have 24-inch range and 1 attack. And apart from the no cover, there's no other rules. So they're going to be rolling 2 dice against the swordsman. Now, the skeleton archers have a quality of 5+. So 2 dice, 5+. Here we go. Okay. So the archers miss badly. The crossbowmen are still okay. Okay, so everything has activated except for the priestess. The priestess is the last one to activate. Now, the rules say that she can do a spell before her combat or her melee, but it doesn't actually say whether she can do it when she's rushing or whether it's just advanced, whether it counts like shooting or not. So I've checked the rulebook. It doesn't say anything in there. So I'm going to assume that she can do spells even if she rushes. I don't know. But yeah, before I do anything with the priestess, I want to see what spell she's going to cast. So the rules say to roll, I think it's D3 plus her wizard level. Her wizard level is level 2, so I'll be rolling a D3 plus 2, which means she would only be casting the 3rd, 4th or 5th spell. I think it's a bit weird that she won't have the option of casting the first, 2nd or 3rd spell. Oh no, she may be able to do the 3rd one, but she won't be able to do the 1st or 2nd one, which I find a little bit strange. So I'm going to be rolling a D6 rather than a D3. I think it's D3 plus 2. So I'm just going to roll a D6 and then see what spell she gets. And we get a 6. Plus 2, well, yeah, technically it's plus 2, but we'll forget that. So it's a 6. So she's going to cast Vengeance. Target enemy unit within 12 inches must make a morale test. If failed, it takes 1 hit per model in the unit. Now, I mean, the Panther Rider would be the obvious target, but the Panther Rider has Fearless. So Fearless gives a +1 for morale checks. So I think she's still a valid target. So what I'll do is I'm going to move the priestess to a position where she can use this, where she can actually see the Panther Rider, and then she's going to cast, or attempt to cast the spell. Okay, so I mean, she can go over the fence. I would say it costs double move to move over the fence. But she needs to be able to see. She needs to be able to see this, so I think she might be better stay. But again, the AI rules. Where are we here? Are there any objectives not under AI control? Yes. Are there any enemies in the way? No. Rush towards objective. The thing is, I don't want to get too close. It's going to bring her right into the Panther Rider's range. She has to rush towards the objective. I mean, technically. It doesn't say closest. So you've got an objective here, you've got an objective there, so she could rush. I mean, if she rushes that way, that guy's going to mob her, isn't he? Oh, but he hasn't got line of sight, so he won't be able to charge. Again, it doesn't say in the rules whether you need line of sight to charge, but I'm assuming it does. So, I mean, she could... would she be able to see this guy? I mean, I think these are low walls, so I think she could see the Panther Rider through here. I mean, this counts as high. I think this would count as high, but I think these are low. So she may have line of sight through here, or she comes down to here. But again, she's going to get charged. But that'll be stupid because then this guy would have all these guys nearby. So yeah, I think I'm just going to bring... but again, she's the hero. She needs to be near these guys to give them a +1. For the hero ability, she needs to be within 12 inches. So I'm going to bring her this way. And then she'll try and do her spell. And she'll still be in some kind of cover. I mean, this is gonna be difficult terrain, so this is gonna move less, so may not be able to reach her. But she's also going to be within 12 inches, yeah, to help affect these guys. And this guy doesn't have line of sight, so he can't charge. And then these guys, will they be able to shoot? Too much in the way. All right, so we'll bring her. She can move up to 12 inches. Let's say that this is double move, so it costs 2 inches to get over there. Sorry. So she can move a total of 11 on the... Okay, we'll just move her 9 inches to there. Okay, so I think she has line of sight to the Panther Rider, so she's going to attempt the Vengeance spell. So the Vengeance spell is 6+. Target enemy must take a morale chest. If failed, it takes 1 hit per model in the unit. Well, it only takes 1 hit, but... So it's a 6+. The Priestess is Wizard 2, so she gets a +2 to the roll, I think. Let me check. Okay, so she needs to roll a 4+. We get a 6. So the Panther Rider has to take a morale test, otherwise it takes 1 hit. Alright, so the quality of the Panther Rider is 4+. Fearless gives it a +1. It is outside of range. Oops, sorry. It's outside of 12-inch range for the Tyrant, the hero, so there's no effect there. So she needs to roll, she got a +1. So she needs to roll a 3+. Otherwise she takes 1 hit. 3+. No. Right, so she takes a hit from that failed morale test. Now, she's not tough, so we have to roll. I think that's how it works. But she has regeneration. What does regeneration do? Okay, so regeneration is whenever you take a wound, or potentially take a wound, you have to roll on a 5+, it's ignored. Bloody hell. So it's not ignored, she takes the wound. So now we have to roll and see, because she's not tough, we have to roll and see what happens. So she's got 1 wound, so we're at a +2. On a 6+, she's knocked out. On a 2 to 5, she's stunned. 2 + 1 is 3. So she is stunned. And I think we keep the wound counters on them. I think. Okay, end of turn 1. We got 2 objectives claimed by the Angels, 2 objectives claimed by the Mummy, or the Mummified Undead. Now, the Angels finished activating first last turn, so for turn 2 they will activate first. They will start now. I've got a decision to make. I can't find in the rules whether you need line of sight to actually charge, so I think I'm going to say that you can. However, I mean, the Angel Tyrant could technically charge the Priestess. The Guardian Statues could potentially charge the Panther Rider. Now, if they charge the Panther Rider, she's dead automatically because she's stunned. So that might be what I do as the Angel player. I think I would probably activate the Panther Rider first, so at least she's not stunned when those Guardian Statues come around the corner. Because otherwise it's automatic, you see. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to activate, with my first activation, I'm going to activate the Panther Rider, which basically means that she's no longer stunned. And then that's the Angel's first activation. Okay, for the Mummified Undead's first activation in the second turn, we have the archers were rolled for. So they moved up into the ruins here, difficult terrain, so they can only move 6 inches maximum. So following the decision tree, they have to advance towards an objective which is not under their control and shoot if possible. So they have, because again, this part of the ruin is high, but these are all fairly low. So they can actually have line of sight for both of these units here. And normally, because they're shooting over these walls and stuff, I mean, maybe the Panther Rider would be in the open, but I think these swordsmen would actually count as having cover because they're right behind this wall here. But the Panther Rider's out in the open, so what they're going to do is they're both going to shoot at the Panther Rider. So they're well within range. So they have 1 attack each, quality of 5+ and ignoring cover. Right? So 2 attacks at 5+. Yeah. She's fine. She's perfectly fine. I mean, she wouldn't have been if oh no, I still have missed. Damn it. Activation over. Okay, second activation for the Angels. I've activated the crossbowmen. They're going to move into this cover here, and they're going to try shooting at the Priestess. So again, because they're shooting over these walls, she's right next to the wall, she gets the cover cover modifier here. So they're going to have a -1 to hit. So their quality is 5+. They have rending, but they need a 6+ to hit anyway. So on a 6+, they hit with rending, which means that the Priestess will get a -4 to her defense roll, but her defense is already 6+, so. Alright, so 3 attacks, they can all see her, 3 attacks, 6+ to hit the Priestess. We get 1 hit. Right, the Priestess rolls to try and evade. She needs a 6+. Nope. She is tough 3, so there's no need to roll for stunned or knocked out. She just takes 1 wound. Apart from that, no other effect. Activation over. Okay, the next unit to activate for the Mummified Undead, we rolled and it was the Priestess. So again, before we do anything, we're going to find out what spell she's going to have for this turn. So again, I'm going to roll a d6 and find out what she gets. 6 again. So once again, it's the Vengeance spell. Target enemy unit within 12 inches must make a morale check. If failed, it takes 1 hit per model in the unit. Now, I mean, maybe designating her as a melee unit was wrong. Maybe she should have been a hybrid unit. Because spells are kind of a ranged thing. Let's have a look at hybrid and see what the decision tree tells us. I honestly think that the wizard would count as shooting because her spells were better than her melee, so I think she would count as shooting. So, are there any objectives not under AI control? Yes, I mean you got that one there. You got that one there, but I think this one's closer. Okay, so yes. If you advance, will any enemies be in shooting range? Yes. Advance towards objective and shoot if possible. Okay. So we're going to move a little bit closer and then pop off the spell either at the swordsman or at the panther rider. Okay. Let's do that. Okay, so she moves into the ruins here. It's difficult terrain, so she can move a maximum of 6 inches. But there was a wall here, so that took double move to move over. So it took 2 inches to move over, and then she moved 5 inches towards the objective and also trying to stay within cover as much as she can. So let's just slightly move her behind the wall. That's better. Okay, so she has taken 1 wound already. Now at the moment, at the moment, the Panther Rider is not of immediate concern because it's already been activated this turn to get away from stunned. And I'm pretty sure the Guardian statues will chop her up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Vengeance on the Swordsman here. So they're well within range. So the target unit, which is the Swordsman, must take a morale test. If failed, it takes 1 hit per model in the unit. Now they are outside of hero range for the Tyrant, so they're doing this on their own. So for a morale check, the Swordsman quality is 4+. Okay, 4+, no problem. So no effect. Okay, so moving the priestess so close may not have been a best idea, but that's what the AI decision tree told me to do. So again, another reason why I may not be using the AI system for future games. I may just be using my own common sense and playing against myself. So the swordsmen charge in, but because of the difficult terrain, they could only move a maximum of 6 inches, which means only 2 of them could actually get within range. Now, there is a wall, a low wall between this guy and the priestess, but I'm not going to make that as if it's any problem. So only 2 of them can actually make combat with the priestess. She's probably going to die. I mean, a bit of a stupid idea to move her so close, but again, blame the AI. So this guy can't take part, so it's just two swordsmen attacking. They have a quality of 4+, and they're using a hand weapon with 1 attack. So we're just rolling 2 dice at a 4+. Both miss. The priestess can now hit back. She has a hand weapon with just 1 attack. Her quality is 5+. So 5+ to hit. Misses. Now since neither unit was knocked out, the charging unit has to move back 1 inch. Check whether they're still within cohesion. Yeah, they've all got to stay within 6 inches of each other and within 2 inches of another member. Okay, they're fine. So they've activated, they charged in, they didn't cause any wounds. She didn't cause any wounds on the counter attack. They have to move back 1 inch. Activation over. Okay, so next up, after the swordsman, we had to roll for the Mummified Undead, and we rolled up the Guardian statues to activate next. So according to the decision tree, they had to charge, basically they just had to charge the Panther Rider, so she's in a world of hurt at the moment, because these guys have got 3 attacks each, and they're quality 3+ and tough. So 3 attacks each, that's 9 dice, and they're hitting on a 3+. Ugh. Five hits. Panther Rider has a defense of 5+, so 5+ to block. Blocks 1. Regeneration. 5+ is like an invul save, so she gets a 5+ again to save. Wow. After all that, she takes just 1 wound. So 9 attacks and she just takes 1 wound. Wow, that regeneration is very useful. It's like an invul save from other games. Okay, so she's got 2 wounds now, so now we have to roll to see what happens to her, whether she gets stunned or whether she gets knocked back again. Knocked out. So we're now rolling a d6 plus 2. And on a 6 plus, she did. So d6, we get a 2 plus 2 is 4, so she is stunned. Stunned with 2 wounds. I think next turn she may be in big trouble. Okay, the last activation for the angels sees the tyrant. I mean, he could have charged. I mean, if he charges over there, he's going to get swamped. He could have charged the priestess, but no, she's not much of a threat so far. So he's going to charge the archers here, and they responded by with this archer moving in to sort of counteract the counter charge movement. So the angel is going to attack the archers. He has 3 attacks. He has AP 4, so they're going to be defending on a natural 6. But he has 3 attacks at quality 3. Wow, only 1 hit. So he hits once, so the skeletons have to defend on a 6. No. So the defense fails, they take 1 wound. Now again, in units of more than one thing, the wound automatically knocks 1 out. It's just the last guy in the unit that has to make the roll to see whether they're stunned or whatever. So this skeleton be dead. But because the units weren't destroyed, the attacker has to move back 1 inch. So the angels are finished. Now we do the remaining mummified undead. Okay, next up for the mummified undead is this second, well, the only unit of swordsmen left. Now, according to the decision tree, they would probably charge the angel tyrant because he is, I think they said you have to go towards the nearest objective, which is that one over there. But if there's an enemy within 6 inches, I think you have to charge them instead. The trouble is they're in difficult terrain, so they can't actually charge him because, actually no, they might be able to. Hang on, let's... No, they're outside of 6 inches range if they have to go around the corner of that building. They're just outside of range. So what they'll do is they'll just move towards the objective instead. Okay, end of turn 2. We still have 2 objectives controlled by each side. So now it's turn 3, and again the angels go first because they finished first last time. So this turn they go first, and again I'm going to make them work to kill the Panther Rider. So I've activated her first so that she's not stunned and automatically taken out. I mean, last time, 9 attacks, they only did 1 wound, so she may be lucky and still hold these guys up for another turn. So yeah, she activated first, she's not stunned anymore, but now it's the Mummified Undead's turn. Okay, first Mummified Undead activation, we rolled up the archer, the lone archer, to go first. I would have liked to have done the priestess first to get her out of harm's way, but AI is AI. So the archer activates, moves across the ruins to here, because he has to move towards the objective and then shoot if possible. So he moved to here. He's now going to shoot at the unit of swordsmen. He can see all of them. But again, because his bow, I mean, these guys are in the open to him. This guy's in cover, but his arrows, his cursed arrows, don't take cover into account. So it's just a straightforward attack. So he'll be rolling 1 dice, and he needs a 5+ to hit. He hits. The swordsmen have a defense of 5+, plus they have the regeneration, which is also a 5+. So you've got a 5+ and a 5+. And they make it. Not a problem. Okay, so the angels, I activate the tyrant next. He's going to charge the priestess just before she can do any more spells. I think it's all over for the priestess now. We'll have to see what happens. So the tyrant's rolling a 3 attacks. And he has AP 4, so she'll be saving on natural 6s. So 3 attacks at 3+. 2 hits. Priestess saves on 6s. No saves. She takes 2 hits. Right, so the priestess is now on 3 wounds. Now she has to start making the rolls, and that, with tough, you have to take at least the number of wounds as your tough value before you start rolling to see whether you're stunned or knocked out. But again, being tough, she has to roll 5 plus X, where X is her tough number. So she only gets knocked out on a 5, 6, 7, 8. But she's getting a +3 to the roll, that's the problem. So basically it's a 5 plus and she's out. We get a 4. 4 plus 3 is 7. 7 is not enough, so she is stunned. Okay, so the priestess is stunned. Because the combat did not result in anybody being destroyed, the angel tyrant has to move 1 inch back. Now, another thing with tough is that they're not automatically killed if they are charged when stunned. She just takes, I think it's automatic wounds. Let me check. Okay, forget that. Once they've taken the X wounds, where X is the tough value, they get knocked out as normal by the looks of it. Again, I'm reading the rules for them, and I'm playing the game for the first time, so I don't know. But if she gets charged by the swordsman, which may happen next turn, or next activation, she will get taken out automatically. Okay, so for the Mummified Undead, they activated the skeletons and they moved to the objective. Then for the angels, we activated the swordsman to get rid of the priestess, so they charged the priestess. So she's automatically taken out. They can then move 3 inches, but I don't think they can charge anybody else. I don't think so. So the swordsman consolidate their move up into that corner there. They're moving towards his objective. But yeah, activation's over. And I think for the angels, they've only got the crossbowman left. Okay, next up, Mummified Undead. Next up for the Mummified Undead were the mummies, so they moved towards the next objective. They still stay within 3 inches of the other one as well, so that's in danger of being taken. And for the angels, the crossbowmen moved down here so they could all get shots onto the guardian statues, well within range. They have, where is it? Crossbow, 30 inch, yeah, easy, no problem. Attack 1 and rending. So they're attacking on a 5 plus. On a 6, they get AP 4. The statues are defending on a 4 plus normally, and they are tough. Ooh, this... Don't know whether I'm going to hurt them very much here. So we're rolling 3 dice. We need a 5 plus to hit. 6 plus is rending. We get 2 hits, but none of them are special. So they're just normal hits. So 2 hits, and the statues have a defense of 4 plus. So defense rolls for the statues, we get 1 save. So we just take 1 wound. So one of them takes 1 wound. Okay, so defense rolls, one of them failed, so they take 1 wound. They're tough. So I'm just going to put 1 wound on the closest guy. So he takes 1 wound. He's still fine. So the angels are now done, and the Mummified Undead only have the statues left. And I think they have to waste it by getting rid of this Panther Rider. She's really holding them up well. So, the Guardian statues are going to activate. They're the only unit left, so I don't have to roll. They are going to charge the Panther Rider. And they're going to attack. 9 dice. Hitting on 3 plus. Okay, 3 plus to hit. Lots. Okay, wow. Okay, so she's dodged 4. And then 3, she has her regeneration. Another 5 plus. None. So she takes 3 wounds. That brings her to 5 wounds. So she has to roll a d6. On a 6 plus, she's knocked out. Or she's got a +5 to the roll. So she's out. She dead. Statues can then move 3 inches. Now they are going to move towards this objective, but also towards these guys. So they're going to move towards these guys 3 inches. And one of them has a wound. Okay, all activations are done. We're now going to check the objectives. So at the top here, this one is still controlled by the undead, since they're the only ones within 3 inches. This one is now changed to red. This one is now contested. And then this one is still red. So at the end of turn 3, the undead control 3 objectives and 1 is neutral. That's a big swing away from the angels. But the angels have only lost the Panther Rider. The undead have lost 2 complete units and 2 archers. So how many units do they have in total? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if they lose 1 more unit, I think they have to start making route checks. I think it's if they lose half or more. Let me check. Yeah, so basically, if that archer dies, they're going to have to start making route checks. But I think it's at the end of the turn. So is that done before the objective? I mean, it must be done before the objective. So that could be a big factor, because they have special rules for the undead. They don't actually take morale checks as such, but they can lose extra models. So we'll see how that works. So we're going to start turn 4. Okay, about to start turn 4, the last turn. The undead are controlling 3 objectives. The angels really have to rectify that. If that archer dies, they're going to have to start making route checks at the end of the turn. I don't know whether that's going to be enough, though. The angels have to start thinking in terms of positioning for these objectives, just to make sure. Turn 4, last turn. Angels go first because they finished activating they finished activating first last turn. So I'm activating the swordsman. I've got to try and get rid of this archer so I can get the possible morale checks at the end of the game before the objectives are counted. So I've also positioned this guy so that he's within 3 inches of this. So this should swap, as long as they're successful, of course. So these 3 guys are going to attack the archer. Their quality is 4+. They have 1 attack, so they're rolling at 4+ on 3 dice. Wow! All miss. The archer hits back. He has a quality of 5+. He has 1 attack, so 5+ and 1 dice. Misses. So the combat was ineffectual. There was absolutely no hits and no wounds whatsoever, so the charging unit has to move 1 inch back towards where they came from. That could be a problem because that takes them further away from the objective. Ooh, didn't think of that. So they move 1 inch further back. Now the walls are going to block them, so never mind. 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch. Now that's about 1 inch. Is that going to be a problem for contesting the objective? No, still just within 3 inches. Okay, next up were the undead. They activated the swordsman. Because they were in the difficult terrain, they could only move 6 inches, so they just moved towards the objective, which was not under their control, so they moved down to here. Okay, for the angels, we activated the tyrant. He charged the mummies to contest that objective and to get that out of the way to make it less of a possibility for these guys. The mummies then countercharged, so now we have the combat. So the tyrant will be rolling 3 dice, AP4 at a 3+. Wow, hit once on a 6. The The mummies are defending on a 6+, so the AP doesn't have an effect. They need a natural 6 to defend on a one dice. Natural 6. Nope. So they take 1 wound, so 1 zombie goes down. Now I think the tyrant can choose which one, or is it the owning player that decides which one? Because it could make a difference in terms of whether they're near to the objective or not. Let me check. Okay, it's not going to make much difference because there's 3 mummies within 3 inches of it, so it doesn't really matter. So one of the mummies gets killed, and there's 4 left, but because the unit wasn't destroyed, the charging unit has to move 1 inch backwards or 1 inch away from the enemy. Now I'm not doing it in the direction he came from, I'm doing it so that he's away from the enemy. Oh, not the direction he came from, but away from the enemy. So that's him done. Okay, next up for the AI, I rolled for the archer to be next, so he moved out of the ruins closer to the objective. Doesn't matter, it's still going to be contested, but he'll take a shot at the swordsman. So he's shooting once on a 5+ with no... Normally they get a cover modifier, which means a -1, but he has cursed arrows, so there's no modifier. So he's hitting on a 5+, 1 dice. Miss. Okay, final activation for the angels. This is the final activation of the game because it is turn 4. So we have the crossbowmen. They're just going to move closer to the objective so that they can try to contest it as long as the statues don't kill them. They are going to shoot their bows. So they have range of 30, attack 1, and rending. So they're hitting on a 5+, on a 6 it's rending, so they get an AP of 4. So 3 dice, 5+. Okay, so we have 1 normal hit and 1 rending. We'll do them both. We'll do them both on the guy that's wounded in the chance that we can actually take him out. Okay, so now we have to make defense rolls. We've potentially got 2 wounds here. So we've got 1 normal, which will be at a 4+, and then we have 1 which will need a 6. So the 4+, no save. The 6, no save. So it takes 2 wounds. So that is 3 wounds. Now, again, reading the rules, you don't roll for knocked out or stunned until it's the last figure. So I think if you've got a unit of these tough guys, I think once they take 3 wounds, the first guy dies, second guy dies, and then the third guy has to roll to see whether he's knocked out or stunned. So I think that guardian statue is dead. I think. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. Alright, so the angels are finished. The undead still have 2 units left, the mummies and the statues down here. So I rolled for the mummies to be next, so they charged the angel as per the decision tree. So they are crap. They're like zombies. They're not powerful like mummies in other games. They're like zombies. Alright, so they have claws, which are attack 2. So I'll be rolling 8 dice, and they're hitting on 6s. Oh man. So 8 dice on 6s. Nothing. Okay, no hits, surprisingly. Not surprisingly, really. The tyrant hits back, 3 attacks, AP 4, hitting on 3s. So hitting on 3s, 2. So 2 hits. We now have to roll defense, so defense is on 6s. No, so 2 wounds. So 2 more mummies go down. Ooh, hang on. That could make a difference. No. No, it's okay. Still within 3 inches. So that's still contested. Okay, final activation of the game is the guardian statues. Now they are going to try and kill these guys and at the same time capture that objective. So they are going to charge these guys. Okay, last activation of the game. The guardian statues are charging the crossbowmen. They have 3 attacks each and they're hitting on a 3+. Okay, 3+ to hit. We missed 2. So that's 4 hits. The crossbowmen have a defense of 5+, 1 save, and they have regeneration, which is 5+, 1 save. So 2 wounds. So 2 wounds, 2 guys dead. Now that was actually lucky for the Angels, because if they'd lost all those crossbowmen, then they would have had to make morale checks, route checks at the end of the turn as well, which could have been even worse. So that was lucky for the Angels. And the skeleton archer survived. So this is the end of turn 4. The Angels lost 3 models, the Panther Rider, plus 2 crossbowmen. The Undead lost a lot more. They lost 1 Guardian Statue, 1 Priestess, a unit of Swordsmen, 2 Archers, and 3 Mummies. But not enough to make the route check, because you have to lose at least half your units, which didn't happen. So now we check for the objectives. So this is still contested, so nobody owns this. This, I think, is also... Oh, sorry. This is also contested. So nobody controls that one. This is contested, because the mummies are still within 3 inches. And this is owned by the Undead. So at the end of turn 4, 3 objectives are contested, 1 is owned by the Undead, therefore the Undead win. Okay, let's have a bit of a wrap up. Was the game fun? Yeah, actually it was. It was quite enjoyable. There was a few things where the result could have swayed one way or the other. If they had killed the archer, then the undead would have had to check for rout, and that could have made a big difference. But also the crossbowman, if the last crossbowman had died, that could have also played a big factor in terms of holding objectives. So yeah, I mean, the undead won, but they lost a lot of models, as can be expected by looking at the armies. But the Angels always had it up against them in terms of the number of models that they have and the fact they had to cover 4 objectives. So yeah, it was a fun little game. In terms of the rules, yeah, I think the rules are pretty good. I think they are a very definite competitor with a certain other fantasy game that's out there, but of course without the horrendous cost involved. So I would give the game 2 thumbs up. I'm definitely going to play this again. I also have to try the Grimdark, the science fiction version of the rules as well. So yeah, big thumbs up in terms of the rules. I do like the way that they flow. Again, it is very simple to understand. Before the game, I did read the rule book a few times to kind of try to understand how the game played. But during the game itself, I didn't have to refer to the book at all. I only went by the cheat sheets, or the 1-pages. So I had the 1 page for the skirmish, which I basically used. I had the page for the AI, which I used, and I had my decision tree flowchart thingamajigs. Yeah, it looks like I missed a couple of ends here. I'll update that, and maybe I'll upload this to the Facebook in case anybody else wants to print this out. So yeah, I like the game design. It's quite good. It flows very well. It's simple enough to learn. There's a few things where you have to double check and everything else, but yeah, it's good. Very highly recommended. For Dark Retribution, in terms of I mean, the figures look perfectly good. You can't really do pictures from above, because you don't actually see the pictures, you just see the thickness of the paper. But from an angle like this, as you can see here, in terms of showing the figures like this, I mean, I like the art style. Are they as good as miniatures? No. Of course they're not as good as miniatures, but are they usable? Yes, of course they are. And they're a lot cheaper. And I've managed to play 2 armies here that I haven't played before. I mean, the Mummified Undead, I did have some models for the other game, the expensive game, but I never actually played them. I think a friend of mine used to play that army for that game. But this is a way to test it out without having to buy all the miniatures or the army book, which are terrible prices. The Kingdom of Angels is something I think a little bit new. I don't know where that's from. I mean, is that in the new version of that fantasy game? I haven't played the I haven't played that. Is it Age of Sigmar? I haven't actually played that, but I mean, is the Angels army here based on those Age of Sigmar armies? I like I say, I've been out of touch for a while now. But I mean, Dark Retribution, it's about $5 US. You get the basic rules, which are free, but you do get 2 basic armies in terms of figurines. You get the terrain set. You get a bunch of tokens that are not explained what they're used for. But yeah, Dark Retribution I would highly recommend for people who are new to the hobby, or maybe as a present or a gift for somebody who's young, who you may think is interested in the hobby or may be interested in the hobby. So this would be pretty good as a present for some, I don't know, a young teenager maybe, to get them into the hobby. Or, like I say, for people like me who haven't played the rules before but who are interested. Also maybe armies that I'm looking at but maybe I can't afford to take a risk on buying all the figures and stuff. So yeah, I mean, this product is highly recommended. Is it worth 5 ringgit? Sorry, yeah, 5 ringgit. It's definitely worth 5 ringgit. Is it worth $5 US? I mean, the armies themselves, if you buy the army, the paper armies separate, I think they're $3 US, but normally they're on sale for $2. So 2 armies is $4. You get the terrain pack, that's another $2. You may be saving $1 if you get this starter set. You may be saving $1, I think. So yeah, that makes it worth it. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I will be doing more one-page rules, definitely. I have the Grimdark to have a look at. I have more Age of Fantasy to look at, but maybe using figures and proper terrain. So yeah, keep an eye on the channel. Please take a moment to like and subscribe. You know I need more subscribers, so come on, subscribe. It doesn't take a second, doesn't do you any harm, doesn't cost you anything. Press that subscribe and like button down below. So okay, thanks guys, keep an eye on the channel. Take care. See you later, bye.